April1 Indian Express newspaper. First article is related to ASFA lifted from parts of Assam, Nagaland and Manipur. Armed Forces Special Powers Act will be removed from several districts across Assam, Nagaland and Manipur. Let us see in detail about ASFA. Ministry of Home Affairs lifted the ASFA from parts of Assam, Nagaland and Manipur. ASFA was removed on account of improved security and law and order situation in the states. From 2014 to 2021, the incidents of militancy in the northeast have reduced significantly by 74%, along with the reduced depth of security personnel and civilian by 60% and 84% respectively. Also, a number of peace agreements have been signed with the insurgent groups in the last few years, like Bodo Accord to 2020, Karbi Anglong Agreement 2021, etc. With this, ASFA remains in force in part of these three states as well as in part of Arunachal Pradesh. Jammu and Kashmir too has a similar act. About ASFA. ASFA grants a special status to armed forces to bring back order in disturbed areas. Disturbed areas are declared under Section 3 of ASFA Act 1958 when a part or whole of the state and union territory is in condition that the use of armed forces in aid of civil power is necessary. Disturbed areas are declared by governor of the state and administrator of union territory or by central government. This is what all about Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Okay, next article that we are moving into is related to if China breaches LAC again, Russia won't help, says US DYNSA. Deputy National Security Advisor Dalip Singh, chief architect of sanctions imposed on Russia, said that there will be a consequence to the countries that actively attempt to circumvent the sanctions. Red flagging the China-Russia relationship, which both no one should kid themselves. Russia is going to be the junior partner in this relationship with China, and more leverage that China gains over Russia, the less favorable that is for India. Line of actual control, Russia could running in India's defense. We are very keen for all countries, especially our allies and partners, not to create mechanism that prop up the ruble and attempt to undermine the dollar-based financial system. We would not like to see anyone taking advantage of the situation to rapidly increase the energy supplies at the cross purpose with our strategic objective in the sanction regime. He listed out 5 channels of sanction imposing immediate and acute cost on Russia's large bank and central bank, revoking MFN status and denial of IMF World Bank borrowing privileges from Russia, kleptocracy and downgrading Russia's status as a leading energy supplier. Okay, this is what all about this article. Next article that we are moving into is related to Supreme Court upholds High Court order scrapping 10.5% quota for 1 year in Tamil Nadu. Supreme Court on Thursday upheld the Madras High Court judgment striking down the law brought in Tamil Nadu last year that provided 10.5% reservation to 1 year within the most backward classes community in government jobs and admission to educational institutions. Top court said it was done slowly on the basis of numbers without adequate data to show the relative backwardness of the 1 year community. No fetter placed on the power of the state to legislate, and caste could be the basis of such internal reservation. It could not be the sole basis. The issue of caste-based classification, it has stated that the caste could be starting point but not sole basis. State government to justify the reasonableness of the decision to demonstrate that caste is not the sole basis. Okay, let us see who is 1 year. Supreme Court upheld the Madras High Court judgment striking down 10.5% reservation provided to 1 year. 1 year is most backward community in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu Assembly had in February 2021 passed the bill providing internal reservation for 1 year in government jobs and admission to educational institutions. This is what all about 1 year. Okay, next article that we are moving into is related to phase of over sanction most Russian oil buyers in Europe. Looks like campaign, and it was Europe that was buying more oil from Russia than before the war. UK government that has signed up to the Budapest Memorandum. I feel a strong responsibility on behalf of UK to take all the actions we can and to support the people of Ukraine, but that is not the same as going around telling other countries what to do. Jaishankar responded by underlining underlining that in March, Europe had brought 15% more oil and gas from Russia. We ourselves get the bulk of our energy from Middle East and about 7.5 to 8% of our oil from US in the past, maybe less percentage from Russia. I think it is natural for countries to go out in the market and look for what good deals for them. Russia gas and oil, I suspect list won't be very different from what it used to be. Jaishankar, too, parallel with situation in Afghanistan last year, said that how Europe was not affected the same way as India due to the turns of events in the August last year when Taliban took over the country. Jaishankar said, I would say some of it also depends on proximity, some of it depends on how strongly a particular country or society related to what is happening. It would say it didn't have the same impact in Europe. I think people didn't necessarily relate to the coming of the Taliban the same way. They didn't identify with the people who are affected the same way. This is what the article talks about. Next article that we are moving into is related to what is genome editing and how is different from GM technology. Norms for genome edited plants falling within the category of SDN1, SDN2, distinguishing them from genetically modified crops. Genome editing, a decade ago, a technique to cut the DNA strands and edit genes was discovered, which allowed the scientists to make targeted intervention in the genome sequence of the organism. This is known as CRISPR, clustered regularly interspaced palindrome repeat gene editing. Yes, SDN1, SDN2, SDN3, SDN1 introduces changes in the host genomes, DNA through small insertion deletion without the introduction of foreign genetic material. In SDN2, a small DNA template is used to generate the specific changes. In genetically modified organisms, genetical material of the host is modified by introducing the foreign genetic material. For example, the introduction of Cry1AC and Cry2AB genes mined from the soil bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis allows the cotton plant to generate endotoxin to fight the pest pink bollworm, which involve crossing plants to produce the desired traits in the offspring. This is what the let us see in detail about this genome editing. Sequencing of complete human genome finally done, that was also in news. Next article that we are moving into is related to ASFA and Northeast. Once the decision was not notified in the Gazette, ASFA remains in force in the part of 3 states as well as in the part of Arunachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. Why is the decision significant? ASFA, which has been called for draconian, which gives sweeping power to the armed force. For example, it allows them to open fire, even causing death against any person in convention to the law or carrying arms and ammunition, and it gives them power to arrest individual without warrant on the basis of reasonable suspicion, and also premises without warrant. It can be imposed by centers or governor of the state on the state or part of it after these areas are declared disturbed under Section 3. Northeast has lived under the shadow of ASPA for nearly 60 years, creating feeling of alienation from the rest of the country. The move is expected to help demilitarize the region. It will lift the restrictions of movement through checkpoints and frisking of residents after being enforced for many years. Why it has been drawn now? Northeast have been reduction in insurgency, some of them up to 60 years old. Number of major groups are already in talks with Indian government, and these talks received traction during the current regime. NNPG are at advanced stage of concluding agreement with government. In Nagaland, the killing of 14 villages in the voting mourn is seen as having a telling impact on the reviving demand to repeal ASFA. Why ASFA imposed on Northeast in the first place? Kicked off in 1950 with the setting up of Naga National Council, the predecessor of NSCN. Assam police forces allegedly used forces to quell the movement. As an armed movement took court in Nagaland, ASFA was passed in parliament, was subsequently imposed on the entire state. 3 Naga-dominated district of Senapati, Tamling, Ukhrul, a secessionist and nationalist movement started sprouting in the northeastern states. ASPA started being extended and imposed in Nagal. What has made ASPA unpopular among the people? In Nagaland, 60 years of living under the ASPA regime had psychologically consequence, trauma and alienation of the people. Supreme Court in 2012, families of victims of extrajudicial killing alleged 1,528 fake encounters have been taken place in the state from May 1979 to May 2012, Supreme Court set up the commission to scrutinize 6 of these cases, and the commission found all 6 to be fake encounters. Are there any checks and balance? While the act gives power to security forces to open fire, this cannot done without prior warning given to the suspect. It says that after apprehension of suspect, the security forces had to hand them over to the local police station within 24 hours. It says the armed forces must act in cooperation with the district administration and not as an dependent body. What attempts have been made to repeal ASPA or reduce its area of operation in the past? In 2000, the activist Hirom Sharmila began a hunger strike that would continue for 16 years against ASPA in Manipur. Justice Jeevan Reddy, which submitted its report in 2005 recommendation repealing ASPA, calling it highly undesirable, saying it is a symbol of oppression. Subsequently, second ARC headed by Veerappa Moli endorsed this recommendation. What positions have the state government taken on the law? While the act gives power to the central government to unilaterally take the decision to impose ASPA, this is usually done informally in consonance with the state government. Center takes its decision after having received recommendation from the state government. There have been instances where center have overruled the state, such as imposition of ASPA in Tripura in 1972. If you like the video, please do share, like, comment and subscribe. In next video, let us see the continuation of the articles.